how this man had poured into this young boy and raised him up. And that is that's boot camp. That's how God. That's His message and how God comes after us because He wants to father us. And we need adopted. We needed rescue. We need all of the above. And it was just really a cool scenario in my opinion. So
Okay. Good. Harold?
One of the things that came out of that clip, even though I'd seen the clip a few times before, it just really thrilled me when I heard it this time because it said it's our wits that make us a man. So the fact that I'm 5'6" doesn't exclude me from being a man.
that's right.
Okay. Okay. It I from top to bottom, I just all the campers were all the attendees were great. I got to talk with a lot of them this time and get to know a little bit of their story. A lot of them I would like to know more about their story, but you only have so much time, when you're doing different things. But I think it was just a universal hunger for God this weekend, and I think that you could just feel it in the whole camp.
Yeah, the thing about that clip that I think is so, earth-shattering kind of was for me the first time I understood, what was going on with Mr. Socks there.
Yeah.
Uncle Argyle.
Yeah.
But, when you do the Sonship Talk, like you can watch the Sonship Talk as many times as you watch it, but the first opportunity you have to do the talk, you have to figure out all the fathers that God has put into your life. And this was an example of young William Wallace. The first character you heard talk about, you need to use your wits, that like Harold was talking about. Well, that was his earthly father, but he died and almost immediately in that part of the Sonship Talk. And the next thing you know, God is sending in another father, which is Uncle Argyle. And I'd always thought of God as the backup plan. Like, well, if somebody becomes an orphan, God's the backup plan. He'll be their father. Or, somebody else, here comes a grandfather or whatever the situation, it's a backup plan. But no. God is like this master, symphony conductor who is bringing in the exact father that you need in the exact season that you need. And when you do that talk and you begin to think of the fathers that you had, it's amazing.
We'll talk to you after the break.
Here are the contest rules for the Truth Network. Prizes won are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other prize. All prizes must be redeemed from the station within 30 days of winning. Only one prize per household from any station of Truth Broadcasting within any 30-day period. The rest of our contest rules are listed under the About Us link at our website, truthnetwork.com. Thanks for playing and listening to the Truth Network.
I spent a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in 09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
I was sitting there looking at it going, why don't we have any views? Why don't we have any views?
Wildfire. Visit
I haven't made it
SmokeyBear.com.
stream.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state
But I
forest,
did
or
about
any ad council. Only you
That's
can
why we don't have any
prevent
views. You have
wildfires.
to stream it.
Welcome back to Masculine Journey. That was a bump in, and was that Bethel music? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, Bethel music. And all right, so the reason I chose that bump, it was what I thought was going to be my least favorite part of boot camp. It was a surprise from Robbie, and I know if I say this, some guys are going to go, oh, I'm not going to go. But no, I saw we had, we have a couple worship sessions, one Saturday evening and one Sunday, and I saw a little bit of a video play, where people were doing like these moving gestures, like worshiping through doing some gestures to this song. And Robbie was getting real quiet about it. And he's like, I didn't want to show that quite yet. He's telling David. And I told David, I'm like, I'm not doing it. So, I'm like, I know Robbie wants it, but I really don't want to do it. That's like way outside my comfort zone. And so, then, Robbie has a way of getting people to participate. And I got to say, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it. And it was a different way to worship. I'll give you that. But what I enjoyed more was looking around the room and just seeing so many of the guys that completely got into it. That were just really worshiping in a different way that, I would have thought it would have been just crickets, but it was as opposite as it could be. And guys were just thoroughly enjoying it. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And, definitely, I think God laid that on your heart, Robbie, but it was a pretty cool part of the weekend. It was one of my favorite parts from the standpoint of a biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, well, that particular morning, Danny, we started working in the kitchen most mornings about 2 or 3 o'clock. And I don't know what the time when Danny came in, maybe it was 4 or 5. Whenever he came in, and we had the worship music just blasted, me and Gene in there. And Danny was like, "Man, you're making me cry." And we just had the best time worshiping. And that whole day was just a day of worship, like it really was. And that night, long before we got to that song, my heart was totally like, I don't know if I've told you, Andy, you just picked the perfect songs to really set that song up so that when it broke, people were ready to really dance.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the most, even before that part, it was the most I'd ever seen the guys participate in singing, in a worship session. It was, I was at the point, because I was running I was lighting technician over there with the light switch. And, I could see everybody, and everybody, for the most part was singing along, and that was pretty cool because you don't normally see that. Especially in a group of guys, you don't see that very frequently.
But the cool part of the other side of me walking in on, they did have music blaring. It's like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm hunting coffee, the old 9 yards, and Robbie said, "You want me to turn it down?" I said, "No," and because I'm listening to the song, I said, "What are you playing?" He said, "This is my playlist," and I was in shock, to be honest with you, because I learned something about my friend Robbie. And because for whatever reason, nothing that Robbie's ever done that I know of is, I just kind of thought he was indifferent to that kind of worship music, just that kind of deal, and just kind of.
It would be all Hebrew all the time.
Yeah, he got some Hebrew, something going on. Something like that. The monks walking in the whole 9 yards or something. And I get to talking to him about it and just listening to his playlist. And I went, "Wow, this is really cool." And I think it let us bond a little closer. It was just really cool. So
it was a great morning. And that was a great day. It's like Andy said in his prayer. I don't know that we could be grateful enough to God that we, for such a time as this, with such a group, and certainly the campers are something, but when you think about the band of brothers that God has put together for us to be able to walk with such amazing people of God all the time. And, even sitting there now, Terry's with us, and other guys that weren't able to make it to camp like Corn, we got more that are standing out there, but like, man, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool. Andy, you have the next clip. So if you want to tell us a little bit about it or go where you want to go with it.
So Sam did my favorite talk, friendship talk, and standard Braveheart clips and all always get me. But at the end, and we've done this before, but he did hit me like it did this weekend. But he used a clip from Blood Diamond. Blood Diamond, the story behind that is we've got this man, Solomon Bandy, that he's with this archer guy that's Leonardo DiCaprio's character, if you've seen the movie, but they're looking for a diamond that's hidden, and the son, Dia, has been kind of drafted as a child soldier into the Liberation Army and really been brainwashed to not acknowledge his father. And so they're digging for this diamond that was hid, and Solomon is digging for it, and Archer kind of says, "Hey, look," and the son walks in. I just told you the whole clip, but the son walks in, and it's just a powerful scene where the father calls to the son to find him back to who he is.
Yeah, and the son's probably what, 8, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
probably about that age, and so that way,
Yeah, and it is a visual clip, but you'll get it. There's enough dialogue. To get that.
here we go.
Keep digging, huh? They'll be here any second. Come on. Keep digging. Oh. Everybody be there, huh? Yes, yes. Yeah. You got it. Have you got it, huh? Yes, got it.
Solomon.
Dia, what are you doing? Dia! Young babe, what are you doing? Yeah, Dia Bandy. But the problem and they tried. You are a good boy. You love soccer and school. Your mother loves you so much. She waits back before you're making plantains and red palm oil stew with your sister Linda. And did you, baby? The cows wait for you. And Babu, the wild dog who wants no one but you. I know they made you do bad things. You're not a bad boy. I am your father, who loves you. And you will come home with me and be my son again.
One thing you need to know is that the whole time that father's making that speech, the boy's holding a revolver in his face.
Yeah, thank you, Harold. I was going to mention that. Yeah, sometimes I feel like we get, the enemy brainwashes us to get to thinking that the father is the enemy, and that he's not for us, and that father just calls out the identity. He calls it by name, and then he calls out the things that he likes and the thing that makes him who he is, and the child just breaks down and ends up falling into his father's arms. But just a powerful scene of where we go wayward ways from the father. We do our prodigal stuff, and our God comes after us and calls us out. That's who we really are.
Yep.
It's kind of tough being on the phone. It's like, do I need to send and that's all I got?
No. It's just I think you're hearing the effects of a lot of us being tired. We're just like, okay, my brain's got to re-engage again.
I keep forgetting you can't hear a nod.
Yeah, we're shaking our head as you talk. It's just most of them don't rattle. So if you do,
Yeah, a few rocks over here.
Yeah, I love the aspect of that they made you do bad things,
right?
Right.
and or they tricked you into it or whatever. And one of the major themes we saw from this camp was the issue of forgiveness, specifically people forgiving themselves.
Right.
Yeah, that did seem to be a thing.
Yeah.
And God really came after that.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of what the guys asked us to pray for after this camp was that they would be able to help forgive themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent. I mean, it's been part of, I think, most of our stories.
Oh, very.
Right. That able to forgive oppressors sooner than forgiving ourselves.
Right.
And that's pretty consistent. And the enemy just has a good way of getting you to hold on to that one way or another. Pride, embarrassment, whatever it might be. He knows what works for you, and he tries to get you to hold on to that. That's not even yours to carry anyway.
Yeah, so you think about that 8-year-old boy trying to process that I'm standing here with a gun on my father.
Right.
And yet the father is so gracious. Like you could tell that he was his beloved son. And, that's what made the impact on allowing the boy to be able to get past, that label. And it's only the father that's going to be able to help us forgive ourselves.
Right.
It's impossible without him saying, look what I did. Look what I went through so that you could have this. It's yours, son. It's yours. It's beautiful.
Yeah, just the Father's grace in the midst of that, and you do get to hear, as people have said, God's voice, coming through, because God knows very well what we've done. I mean, this father speculated, our Heavenly Father knows for sure what all we've done, and His grace is still there, exactly like that for us, which is pretty cool.
For sure.
No, we don't have a boot camp. Well, we do have a boot camp coming up in March, but we're not going to start talking about that quite yet to have you register for that. But I do want to say, if you want to go to something between now and March, we do have a lot of friends that have boot camps. Some will be on the air with us from time to time, but we always have friends that have them coming up, and sometimes they're in Kentucky, Ohio, lots of different places that they have them. We'd be more than happy to recommend a place. If you want to get to one, just reach out to any of us at our first name at masculinejourney.org. And anything we have coming up will be at our website eventually at masculinejourney.org. The one thing we would ask for you to do this week is just as we go to Thanksgiving, thank the Lord for everything you have, and love yourself well, and let other people, whatever. And I couldn't talk and blah blah blah. I just kept going.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, away we go.
Hey, Andy. I don't think you can hear me.
You guys there?
Yeah, you can't hear us.
He can hear you.
Can you hear me, Andy? No, you can.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Were you getting any feedback?
No, I thought there was. I guess if I listened for it, I guess I could hear it a little bit. If I talk loud enough, it doesn't dominate like sometimes.
Sometimes it's overpowering.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Well, when we have the after hours show, we've got 2 clips. We get you guys to both talk about the camp a little bit.
Terry could comment too. What do you think?
It's encouraging for you guys talking something.
Wish I had more energy.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you lean on that tonight.
I am lean on that. I still have to hit the grocery on my way home, so get a few things.
A turkey and dressing.
No, just a ham. I'm supposed to make a ham, but when I went to Food Line yesterday, there was no hams. None. So I'm gonna try a different Food Line on my way home, and if not there, there's a Lowe's around the corner, just over F 158. Sure, I can find one somewhere.
Go down to Buy Right in Stokesdale.
Yeah, I'd have to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, they won't be open really.
No. I'm making a beeline towards my house, and so I'm not going anywhere past my house.
But the Food Line's on the way.
Yeah, and then Lowe's is kind of on the way. But
That's a nice Lowe's right there.
yeah, it is. Lowe's is just always so much more expensive.
Did you try that huge Food Line in Kernersville after?
Oh, the new one? Yeah. I've been over there. We do our food pickups there for the rescue food. And so 2 reasons I like this is going out, right?
No.
Oh,
Oh, it is. It is streaming.
Oh, then no, I won't talk about it. Yeah. I'll share afterwards. But yeah, it's a very nice store over there. It's just a little bit further from my house, not terribly further, but it feels like I'm heading more towards Oak Ridge, and it's kind of at that border. But yeah, we do our. They provide us with rescue food. We pick up our rescue food there.
So you're saying the Oak Ridgeites are sort of snobbish?
No, I wasn't saying anything about people from Oak Ridge. I was just refraining from saying something. Hey, I don't have discernment a whole heck of a lot, so we need to just let it be there when I do have it.
All I know is we pick up listener after this.
Let it
Well,
go.
all these people have started to chime in ever since you got done.
Yeah.
Let's tune in and see what
Well,
he's gonna
what's
say.
some of the comments? We can just, I could just answer about.
There you go. That's what we tuned in for.
Yeah, okay.
The after hours.
Yeah, the mid-span conversation.
What is he getting at? You'll have to tune in after.
Yeah, if you email me, I might tell you.
Come to a boot camp.
Yeah, that would be Andy at masculinejourney.org. Yeah, thanks. That's all I got. That was a very Batman-esque response there, Eddie. Yikes.
So are they Oak Ridgeites or Oak Ridgians?
Oak Ridgians. Yeah.
What do you think?
Okies.
No.
Okies from
There you go.
Muskogee.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hokies.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard's on.
Well, there is a food line. You want to make an interesting comparison. I'll say this on the air any day of the week.
That's
anyway,
fine.
There's a food line between Stokesdale and Oak Ridge.
Yeah, I know where it's at.
Okay. And then there's the food line in Walkertown.
Yeah.
You've been in that one many times, I'll bet.
Oh, yeah, on my way home. Yeah. There's one in Kernersville down on Main Street.
But the difference between going into the one, I'm just talking about the people that you may see in the food line and at the Oak Ridge, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah. Stoke Ridge.
Yeah, Stoke Ridge. Where I'm guessing the average, income in that area has to be over 200 grand a year. I mean, that the food that they have, everything is completely different. The people are completely different. The people behind the cash registers are completely different.
Wow.
Have you never been in there?
No, just one time when my boys played football up that way.
Yeah, and it's a completely different food line experience than you'll ever experience from my standpoint.
Yeah, it's up 68, right? As you're going up 68 towards Stokesdale. Okay.
Let me just say this. I never go in there.
Yeah.
I like the one that just a plain old, down the line food line, nothing upscale for me.
One has bib overalls and the other one of tux.
Yeah, that's good. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference. But the kind of food they stock is sent along those lines too. Like it's like, what? Where does this come from?
Yeah, you'd think. Yeah, I guess they're trying to reach out to their audience.
Yeah.
One has seashore oysters and the other one has mountain oysters.
I think they come from bull moose in the winter. I'm just sure.
Yeah. We've heard all about those a few times.
Now we got a heart then. Well, we're picking up steam. Before we just had viewers, but we didn't have a heart until we really until we got to the mountain oysters.
Yeah, there we go.
After all the things.
Yeah. Must be nap time.
It's about bedtime for me. I'm tired. I'll say that, but I always get home, every week I get home from the radio station, I'm tired. And I sit there and I can't really fall asleep because I need to unwind just from having been on the go all day. And so I usually sit there, I'm like, I'm tired. So about 10:30, I'll probably go to bed.
What time do you start today?
Most days about 5. On average, about 5, sometimes a little after, sometimes a little bit before. It's been progressively getting earlier, even though I don't want it to.
This time of year always does it for me too.
Yeah.
The time changes, I'm tired when I wake up.
Yeah. You get a fair amount done around my house. You can't really go to the job site that early. Some guys do. It's too dark. You can't really see anything. I don't see any point.
Just welcome to setting up and stuff and set up for whatever you gotta do.
Yeah. We got about another minute, I think, and then we'll be back on the air. 7:47 and some change maybe.
Yep.
Andy, you got more stories to share?
I'll let y'all go first.
Oh yeah, well, just wanted to know if I called on you if you had something.
Just saying, after we stopped the Rocky Mountain oysters,
Yeah.
we dropped all our list. We don't have a single one left now,
Wow.
guys. If I'm not kidding, it's 0.
Oh, we got 30
Thinking
seconds.
they all went shopping?
We goose egg. Yeah.
No, we're getting ready to come back on.
Fool, I lit that up.
We didn't lose our heart though.
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We're in the middle of our post boot camp breakdown. I don't well, not breakdown, but summary. we could break down. We're all tired, but no, it's just I got no words.
Welcome
Andy,
to Sam's breakdown.
Andy, I need a thesaurus. That's all I'm saying. I need another word
What's
for it.
interesting is I found the Facebook feed. I'm sitting here watching you on a short delay, so.
Really?
Did you give us a heart?
Yeah. I can make you feel like you're in. I'll just stare at the camera.
Everybody breathe.
Make you uncomfortable like I do when you're here. But yeah. Anyway, but no, welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We're talking about our favorite memories, moments, just things that really touched our heart from this last boot camp. And we could do a bunch of shows on it, honestly, and just trying to limit it to one thing is kind of tough. But I wanted to start before we get to a clip and start with our buddy Michael, if that's all right, Michael. I'd love to hear about your first boot camp experience and whatever you feel like you'd like to share about it.
Well, first things first, the clips make a lot more sense now. I had a great time. You could really tell that the Holy Spirit was full in that place. Everybody there is just full of love and camaraderie. A lot of the lessons and the talks just seemed like they were aimed directly at me, even though I know it's everybody. Some of my favorite things, though, was watching Robbie in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It seemed like organized chaos going on, but by the end of it, just came together magically and everything was ready on time. It was just an amazing experience. Yeah, after coming back home, it's like, oh, back to the real world, I guess.
Oh yeah, back to the Matrix. So we're back into it.
Just try to pray to Jesus every day to keep me in that same flow state.
Yeah, it is. It's there's a little bit of a boot camp, not let down, but it's such a great. For me, I feel really safe at boot camp, and not that I feel unsafe in other places. It's a very safe environment.
Right.
You're not really worried about being judged, or you're not really worried about having to, okay, do I say this? Am I gonna offend people. Not that I don't want to speak what I feel, but you don't. If you're starting to push people away, they're not going to listen to you. And so, but it's just a time where you can really just be yourself and know that it's okay and that you're accepted exactly how you are.
That's true.
And that's what I miss about it is you come back and you have to have varying levels of, not masks, but defense. A little bit of defense is up because, not everybody's going to be as good-hearted as the guys that are at camp.
That is true. And they are some amazing guys.
I've said it for years that it's like tasting heaven to some extent. But especially for me, always Saturday night when the team meets together, prays, talks about, where we've been, what we're doing. If they're, it's just like, can you imagine what it's going to be like in heaven? The same kind of thing where you can just totally just, be who you are and it's just, and feel totally accepted, totally loved, and totally part of the equation.
Right.
Like able to contribute and what you're doing makes it different.
Yeah.
It's something that actually means something, right? Like you can clearly see that, guys are connected to God, hearing God that they've never heard from God before, and moving into things that they've never been willing to move in. When it comes to digging into your wound, let's be honest. I mean, that's painful stuff.
It is.
And to see guys do that is huge.
I think what's really pretty cool at camp, there isn't any status of, hierarchy or anything like that. In the rest of society or this is my boss or this is, my customer or this is this. These are just men being men. And I don't know where people come from. We don't really talk about that a lot. We just talk about things that matter. I don't really remember asking anybody what they did for a living. Because at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. That's not why we're there. Not that I downplay what anybody does. It's just there's more important things to talk about than what I do, Monday through Friday or whatever your work schedule is. It's more about the heart, more about what God's doing. And guys, I think more so than any camp I've ever seen really got that this time. And there were just genuine conversations going on. Which was really pretty cool. It wasn't really guarded or it was great.
What I've experienced, and I listen to you guys always excite me in the conversation. I usually have a Wednesday Bible study, and so when I go there, I share a lot of you guys, what you guys have kind of stirred in my heart to share. So I do appreciate that, and I can tell from just the conversation we've had here tonight that there's still a lot of stirring in you guys' hearts, and that's the goodness of men's ministry. That's what we do. We stir the gift of it, be fatherhood, husbands, or whatever the case is. We stir that gift of that thing in their hearts, which makes it go. And that's awesome. And I can tell you, I mean, I'm glad to sit here with you guys and listen to what's happened and what you guys have went through, and you guys are wore out.
Yeah, we're tired.
Leaving trails.
Yeah, we're dragging. We're definitely dragging.
But it's worth it. And I appreciate you guys making that hustle happen and even sharing it with your listeners.
Yeah.
And I can encourage you guys out there who are not a part of a men's ministry, get involved.
Yeah.
Because that's where your impact, that's your strength, that's where God can use you, build you, make you, drive you, show you, and you can just be excited, become the better you that God designed you to be.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Robbie, you have the first clip of the After Hours.
I do, and to be in complete transparency, when I saw this clip, it was very frustrating to me.
That's right. Maybe God needed you frustrated, Robbie.
He always needs me frustrated. Because there's just a certain structure. You have expected that you're going to end the boot camp with something for Braveheart, but we didn't this time. We did it from the end of the Brand of Brothers HBO series.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of like what it's like to leave boot camp. that you've had a shared experience, and you had all kinds of different people from different walks of life, but all those giftings melded into what God was doing in this particular mission, what he was doing in this particular time. And that comes at a lot of different levels, but my favorite one, I know Andy's going to like this, but is the idea of fathering men. That, you know, when you actually show somebody that you're really interested in them and really interested in helping them push into God, into their wounds, into these things and whatever, that you can see people come alive that normally you can tell they never talk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know, they are more excited about their faith. But again, it's as this clip points out, who they were before the shared mission really didn't have any effect on what the shared mission was.
Mhm.
And if you'll play it, then I'll talk a little bit more about what that means to me.
Yeah, when we pick up this clip, they're all kind of playing baseball, just waiting
for the war to be over.
For the war to be over. Yeah.
How we lived our lives after the war was as varied as each man. Harwood Lipton became a glass-making executive in charge of factories all over the world. He has a nice life in North Carolina. Harry Welsh, he married Kitty Grogan, became an administrator for the Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania school system. Donald Spears stayed in the Army, served in Korea, in 1958 returned to Germany as governor of Spandau prison. He retired a lieutenant colonel.
Easy company! Go back out!
For Easy Company, it was D-Day plus 434.
Last man would have had it, Virgo. No. Got some news. This morning, President Truman received the unconditional surrender from the Japanese. War's over.
Regardless of points, medals, or wounds, each man in the 101st Airborne would be going home. Each of us would be forever connected by our shared experience, and each would have to rejoin the world as best he could.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that the day will come, right? That we'll hear the war's over. And wow, right? Right. But in the meantime, right, we did something different at this camp than we'd ever done. We took on the cooking. And, you know, I love to cook, and I've been doing that a lot on Wednesday nights. And so I had some experience for cooking for larger group, similar in size. And so God really had been fathering me, honestly, through what that process might look like. However, what like Michael said, it was organized chaos because, you know, you're in a kitchen you've never been in before. You're dealing with things that you've never dealt with. You can't find anything that you want to find because you've never been in there before. And it was all sorts of things along those lines that made it extra challenging, especially the first couple nights. But then what happened was you would just need somebody to do something. And there would be people standing around. Sometimes there were campers, sometimes there were other team members. I go, hey, you want to come? And it wasn't like they wanted to come. It was like, oh, I get to come. And it was a shared mission that it was fabulous to see something that you would not, to me, you would never see this in a job in your life. Not this kind of cooperation. Not this kind of joy, not this kind of like, oh man, look, you know, I get to do dishes. Like Kenny, like you had to see Kenny on the dish patrol, like in order to fully appreciate any human being. Like I had to pull him out of the kitchen every time that we went to have a talk because he was right into his program. And you know, again, I love, believe me, anybody knows me knows I love the talk. I love the covenant of silences, and I love what happens with men's hearts when they connect with God. the different thing about this camp was watching men connect with something that wasn't necessarily their gifting, it was just their mission.
Yeah. We definitely had guys from all over the place, mostly around this area of North Carolina, but I mean, just where they just directly came from, what's going on in their life, it was everywhere, but you felt none of that when you were at camp. We were just a team that was there, which was really cool.
Well,
regardless of what we're doing. And I went out and watched them play airsoft. That was quite fun. This was a pretty fun group, and we're not talking about just the teenagers. We had some.
no, they had these high-powered rifles, and I took the first headshot. Like, you got to be kidding me! Like right on the top of my head, like from a guy from one of my youth group.
Yeah,
I couldn't even believe it. Oh yeah, and I'm like, man, dude, where are you aiming? That you would hit me on the top of the head. It's not like I'm 6'1" or something.
Not like that Blood Diamond.
Yeah, really.
Should have been going, Dia. Would have left you alone.
I did have a cool experience with one of the guys who was from my hometown, actually. Yeah, he's a little younger than I am, but I went to school with some of his cousins, and I think so. We were both from Carthage, North Carolina. Good place to be from.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of cool.
It's mentioned in Gladiator, actually.
That's right.
It's a different Carthage, but it is mentioned.
How do you know it's different?
Well, I'm thinking Maximus has never been to North Carolina. I'm just thinking.
He's from Southern Rome.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll move on. I actually have the next clip, and you've heard this clip if you've listened to the show, because I've used it a lot in the last few weeks, but I wanted to use it again here because I was able to do 2 talks this time, and I really liked both of them quite a bit. But the new name talk, God continues just to, in all the talks, God continues to unpack them for me. And what was really cool in the new name talk was that I got more clarity to some of the names that God gave me years and years and years ago, 2002, which was really kind of cool. I got some insight on some other things as far as my name goes. Names have gone. But I want to go ahead and play this. And this is from Rings of Power, and we've used it a few times over the last few months. And you have this character that doesn't know who he is. They just call him the Stranger. And he's on this mission. He's on this adventure with 2 girl hobbits that he's become friends with. And they're trying to help him by giving him just names. They're just throwing out names. And I want you to hear his response, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
What about Dodrick?
Dodrick.
All right. And what?
It is a fine name. Nevertheless, it is not going to be mine.
No. Bredagar.
Don't you see? No one can give you a name. It is yours already. It is who you are. And when you hear it spoken, you feel your heart glow.
You'll hear it one day. I'm sure of it. We'll find out who you are.
Our enemy likes to attack on so many different levels. He attacks, at all angles, obviously. And one of the ones that he consistently attacks at is the level of identity. Right? It says, the character in there, which I won't tell you who that character becomes because you may watch the series. I don't want you to ruin it for you of who that actually is, the Stranger. And you find out at the end of season 2 who he is. But he says that no one can give you a name. It's already yours. But the world continually tries to give you a name. The labels the enemy throws at you constantly. Thief, cheater, liar, whatever. Right? The world is not without labels. Right? We try to categorize people by labels. everything the enemy does is to try to give you a label, right? And it goes right at often the thing God knows is truest about you. And so this whole talk of the new name has been so powerful and becomes more and more powerful, just like all of them do as we spend more time in them, for me, because there's just so many layers. As he peels back the next layer, there's another layer to the name and another layer to the name and things that he knew about you that you probably didn't even know yourself or has long been beaten out of you by the enemy. That he maybe had a glimpse of it at one point, and then the enemy smacks it down, and God has to unearth that and get you to believe it again. And it was really cool, just some of the things that I had. But one of the coolest thing for me for the weekend, one of the coolest things for me for the weekend, is my youngest son, Eli, responded to this talk. And so, I now had both of my sons respond to this particular talk, the new name talk. Caleb did that for Andy a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago, Andy.
Yeah.
And Eli's done it for me once before when he was quite a bit younger, and he's 20 now. And it was just really cool. We didn't really talk about what he was going to talk about. I just knew whatever he had it. Whatever he wanted to share. And so he got up and shared some stuff, and he shared some things I didn't remember us necessarily talking about. I don't really, when he said it, I remembered he and I looking up his name in Hebrew and what it meant, but I really didn't know the impact it had on him. Or maybe it grew and had more of an impact as God's, worked with him in it. And it was really kind of cool to hear his responses. And he went out at quiet time and got a little bit more insight, which is not my news to share. So I'm not going to share any more than that. But, he was kind of excited to tell me about some stuff God was working on that as it's, going right at some things that he's been facing in life. And it's really neat to see what God does with that particular topic. I love to see what he does with all the topics, but often we get a name that we're like, I don't really know. I don't really know about that, or I don't know that I fit that, or I don't know that that's a good one, God. Like we're to question God, and either we grow into him or we learn more about him, and it's exactly the right thing, and it hits exactly what our heart needs. And so that's why I wanted to play that clip again and share a little bit about my son, and just as a dad, as a fellow brother in Christ, just how proud I am of him that he's on his journey, with the Father and going in directions that, he'll teach me about down the road.
All the neatest things is just watching your journey on that whole issue is that, it's I think your very first boot camp, right? You heard teacher and
facilitator. Those two.
Second camp was facilitator.
Yeah.
And then the last regular boot camp we did, you were still moaning about your name teacher. And,
yeah.
Like I just is not feeling that. Isn't quite Maximus teacher-ness.
Yeah.
But he hears God say, well, they used to call me teacher.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for you.
It was.
And of course, Jesus, they did call him teacher. And then, as you were talking about facilitator and you still weren't feeling that one, I was thinking,
feeling it. Yeah.
I was sitting there going, the whole ministry has always been based on Sam's gift to facilitate. Yes, we all know that Sam founded the ministry, but he doesn't run it as if he's a facilitator. He facilitates all the giftings of all the men that have always come in. And it's so amazing that when you think about it, God did that before the foundation of the world.
Yeah.
And that the thing I was thinking about while you were doing this talk is he was sitting back there in the God kitchen, he had Gene cutting figs for him.
Yeah.
And he was saying, okay, we need to put a little of this in Sam, and we need to put a little of that. And he stuck that down in Adam.
Yeah.
He had to.
Yeah, exactly.
He stuck that down into Adam so that someday, we would get a Sam, we would get an Eli, we would get a Caleb, we would get a Danny, we would get all the people that are sitting here. And he knew that the combination of Sam plus Danny plus Terry plus Michael plus Harold were going to be, lifting his name high and making much of what it means to chase after the heart of God on a show of the day before, 2 days before. Actually, I would say Thanksgiving Eve is when we're actually recording this.
We are. Yeah. We are. Harold.
Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
point.
sorry.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick.
You're
Robert, I hadn't thought about that. We all know about how Adam's sin carried on from generation to generation, but we don't think about what God put into him originally and carried on, from generation to generation. Cool insight. But yeah, I want to real quick on Eli too, just how much he's grown and that he grew into it. And he was able to articulate it.
Too bad we can't play that clip of his original commercial.
Yeah. Or you can, it was really high. Yeah, once in a while I'll get his old voicemail when I call. I don't know how it does it through the thing, and it'll be, "Hi, you've reached Eli." I'm like, I don't know who that is. Now it's like, "Hello, you've reached Eli."
And you probably remember whenever he was graduating, I think up into high school. Was that right, Sam?
Maybe.
Turning 16, maybe.
Well, 18 in high school.
Whenever.
Oh yeah, his 16th birthday. Yeah, his 16th. Yeah. When you guys went out Jeep riding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was fun, man. That was a great time. I forgot. It really was. With Caleb Manning.
Well, Harold, you about boot camp, what's some things that come to you?
Yeah, well, my favorite memory, I had to sit and think about it for a little while, but my favorite memory involves Sam. You may have heard him tell about his story where his older sister separated by 28 years, if I'm remembering the number right.
That's right.
That called him motor mouth and you have nothing to say and yada yada. And I sat there in class watching Sam have very much to say and being very animated and saying it. His enthusiasm. He's a fantastic teacher. And so I would heartily agree with the label that teacher fits him tremendously. He has a lot to say to us. He's very honest. He admits things that would not be admitted in most places. But it's okay because the rest of us have admitted the same kind of thing. So we share things that we wish we hadn't done, but we admit we did do it. And that's one of the really great things about this group. We got 1 minute left.
Yeah, in the ministry as a whole. And Harold, thank you so much. That's a testament to God's continued work in all of our lives. That he continues to take us out. If you're not familiar with what he's talking about on the new name, there's a scripture in Revelation that talks about that there will be a time when God gives us each a white stone with a name written on it between us and him, right? But that doesn't mean you have to wait until you're dead to get those names. Jesus had many names. God had many names. We still have many names. The Holy Spirit has many names, and so do you. So just spend some time asking God, what is it you think of me? And if you're hearing something condemning, that's not from God. That's from the enemy. But if you're hearing something convicting, go with him and say, God, just spend some time with me. But let God love on you this Thanksgiving holiday and love on others well. We'll talk with you next week. Oh, Andrew's going. Okay.
Some of you guys will
See,
be one of
no.
those
Thank you, Zach.
All right, I'm out, guys.
All right, yeah, he's out.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving.